Hello everyone, this is Timothy Coleman back again for another video. Now today, I'm going to go over what a cut is. I just finished a cut a little bit ago. I'm filming this video a little bit in advance, but it was not long ago that I finished a cut, only like a couple weeks ago, maybe like a month or two by the time that you see this video. But basically, I'm going to be explaining as concisely as I can what a cut is. So I actually have like a list of things that I typed up here that I'm going to go over with you guys. So a cut in fitness is like a period where your main goal is to lose body fat while maintaining as much of your muscle as possible. And there's a lot of things that you need to do to make sure this happens. And if you're a beginner, there's a chance that you can actually gain muscle while on a cut, although it's probably not as much as if you were bulking or maintaining. But let's go over some key parts of a cut. So first, you need a caloric deficit. You need to find out how many calories your body burns at rest, plus, your activity level. And you need to figure out your TDEE. I'll link a calculator down below for you guys to give yourself like a rough estimate. Now, this isn't perfect, and if you really want to like fine tune it and make those numbers work, you want to eat at that number that it gives you for maybe like 2 weeks. And if your weight changes a little bit, if your weight goes up a little bit, you might want to lower it by a couple hundred calories and that's what would maintain your weight. And if your weight goes down a bit, if you raised it a couple hundred calories, maybe 100 or 200, that's probably what would maintain your weight. It depends on how extreme your weight loss is or your weight gain, but for the most part, that number should be in the ballpark of your true maintenance, and you should be able to figure it out from there. Now, after you figure out your maintenance, whether or not you use the calculator or you use the calculator and then you test it from there, you want to create a caloric deficit. So you want to eat like anywhere from like 300 to 500 calories less than that. Okay? So basically, let's say that your maintenance is 2,000 calories. You do some exercise throughout the week, and your body just burns like whatever amount of calories on top of that. And let's say it equals 2,000. Basically, the idea is you would want to eat anywhere from like 1,500 to 1,800 calories a week, or a day, sorry. And over time, that would create a deficit throughout that week. And basically, you would lose like a pound a week. If you're on a calorie deficit of 500, that's a pound a week. And the next thing you want to make sure of, and this is very crucial, is a high protein intake. Most people recommend at least like, a gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh like 160 pounds, you want to be in a caloric deficit of 500 calories, plus you want to eat 160 grams of protein per day. That's going to help you stay full as well, because protein takes a while to digest, and it takes your body more energy to digest, and it's just the most like filling macronutrient. Now, the next thing you want to do is your strength training. So you want to kind of stimulate your muscles over and over, which is kind of a way of telling your body like, hey, we're still using these muscles. We would rather burn off the body fat and the energy that we have and kind of try to hold on to as much muscle as we can. And your protein intake is going to help do that on top of the training. But the training is just going to push that further and help you really, maintain that muscle. Now, again, you're probably not going to gain any muscle on your strength training. You're probably going to stay around the same strength, and you might actually dip a little bit in strength. You might, lift a little bit lighter, but that's not always the case. But over a long period of time, you might burn just a tiny bit of muscle, but most of it's going to be fat as long as you do everything right. And then again, if you're like a beginner, you might actually gain some muscle on the cut, because your body might be able to kind of burn the fat and use that for energy to build the muscle. So it's called like body recomposition, or at least in that case, that would be one example of it. And then another thing is cardio. Now, this is totally optional. Don't look at it as your primary way to burn fat. You want this to be achieved primarily through your diet. You want your diet and your deficit to do it. to do like the fat burning. Cardio is optional. In fact, you could just cut your calories and completely skip it altogether. But if you want, to like maintain maybe some better heart health, or if you just want to stay a little more active, or if you want to eat just a little bit more, not much, but just a little bit more, then maybe that cardio can help you out and do that. I when I was on a cut, I did about 15 to 30 minutes of cardio per day. And it was just like some light walking. It burned like an extra 100 to 200 calories depending on, the pace I was going or the incline I was walking at or whatever. But basically, your overall goal during this cut is to look leaner, to look more defined. A lot of people want to do it to the point where they have visible abs and like muscle separation, where you can like see each muscle kind of like in your arm and stuff. Total opposite of a bulk, which is trying to gain size, trying to gain mass, strength, and then often with a tiny bit of fat gain. But the idea in a bulk is that you're gaining the most muscle while minimizing fat gain. And I'll probably go over that in a different video. But basically, a cut is a very useful tool to get rid of your body fat. And at some point, it kind of becomes your only tool to get rid of body fat. But it is very good for individuals who have some fat to lose, or they have a decent bit of muscle that isn't super defined and they want to add more definition to it. And a lot of times it can give you a very lean physique and a very lean look. So if that sounds like something you would want to try and you're at a good position to do it, then I would suggest it. Now, what exactly is a good position to do it? Well, the obvious answer is like if you're overweight or obese, or you have just a lot of weight to lose, especially if it's like a lot of body fat and not much muscle at all. It'll be very good because you'll be losing weight and you'll be losing body fat, and whatever muscle you've obtained throughout the years, you will be holding on to for the most part. And obese individuals can usually push their deficit further. You could do like 500 to 1,000 calories since you have just so much more extra energy on your actual person. Now, eventually you might want to kind of lessen that deficit the closer you get to a healthier weight, maybe 500 to 300 calories after that. But yeah, maybe you could start with a higher deficit at first. And then other things to keep in mind is that maybe you could do it if you're just at a higher body fat percentage. Let's say that you're already at a pretty healthy weight, but your body fat is pretty high. If you're not really wanting to do like a body recomposition where you eat at maintenance and you very, very slowly lose body fat and gain muscle, then a cut could be good for you if you just want to like have a leaner physique, you want to look more defined, you want to have a low body fat, and then after that maybe you bulk and put on some more muscle and more mass and minimize your fat gain, then that's a great way to go about it. And that's kind of what my plan has been, actually, because I see a body recomposition takes a lot of discipline and it's very slow. I would just rather do cutting and bulking personally, and it's a little bit faster. So that's just how I'm doing it. I'm starting a bulk very soon. I've just been maintaining for a while here, but I'm going to start a bulk myself very soon. But basically, that's really all the essentials that you would need to know about cutting. Of course, it's always good to research and, look more into it, especially for things specific to you. Find out what works for you the most. Some useful tips I would say is like try to eat some high volume. So try to find foods that are low in calories but have they take up a lot of room in your stomach. For example, a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables. Stuff like that will help you take up a lot of space in your stomach with not that many calories. Now, another thing is that hitting your protein goals can be kind of hard in a deficit because you can't eat that much. So getting 150 grams of protein a day or 170 or whatever you need is going to be harder when you're in a deficit because you need to be able to cram that all into your deficit. And so one thing is obviously use protein shakes or find very lean protein sources that give you a lot of protein for not a lot of calories, and then pair that with a food that gives you a lot of volume with not a lot of calories. And then on top of that, you can look for foods with fiber, which happen to also be a lot of vegetables and fruits as well. And fiber it doesn't really get fully digested by the human body, and it kind of is slowly moves through. And so basically it can just make you feel very full for a long time because it takes the body a good bit longer to actually handle fiber. So you can stay full for a pretty long time, and it's very helpful, a very helpful macro in order to kind of help you push this deficit and not feel hungry the whole time. So yeah, that's pretty much it I gotta say for that. I'm thinking in the future I'll make a video about tips for, eating high protein sources on a budget. I'll probably make a video for, good tips to follow while cutting. And I have like a bunch of advice that I can give that's been very useful to me, and I can try to, pass it on to you guys in a future video. So that's cutting. That's all you really need to know. If there's anything you think I missed or any questions you have in the comments, go ahead and throw them down there, and I will be looking at that, and I'll be responding to whatever I can. And if you have any ideas for something you would like to know in the future, or a future video idea, then go ahead and throw that down there as well. But for the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate the viewership so much. Thank you guys very much.